I would request the speakers and the moderator to take their seats on stage. Over to you, Mr. Alam.
Thank you very much, Faryal. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and Assalamu alaikum. Today we have a very distinguished panel, the panel of experts, I must say, and we are lucky enough to have with us the stalwart of education and information technology with us. On my left, Mr. Kasuri. Mr. Kasim Kasuri is spearheading one of the largest private educational centers in Pakistan, named as Beacon House, which consists of Beacon House School, Beacon House Smart Schools, Beacon House University, and list goes on. On right of me, we have with us Mr. Umar Saif. Umar Saif is a very well-known architect of Punjab Information Board, former advisor to the former Chief Minister on Information Technology, and heading the Information Technology Board, Government of Punjab. He is currently advising the UNDP and setting up some startup, and a frequent traveler to different countries on different things. We have with us Mr. Ali Naseer. Ali Naseer is heading the jazz. Ali is a Hubert H. Humphrey Fellow, like me, and a Shivling Scholar. So, welcome, Ali. Well, without much ado, I will start with a panel of experts. First, Umar, you have been at the helm of affairs in one of the biggest provinces of Pakistan, and there has been a buzz about automating everything, every industry, from explosion of information, artificial intelligence, replacing human in the field of medicine by Dr. Watson, replacing human in the field of finance and accountancy through different software. There's been talk of replacing human everywhere. I mean, how far that perception is correct, and how quickly would we be able to go further in allowing the machine to take over?
Wow, I wish I could comment on something like this. Maybe Kasim will take a stab at it at some stage. I've seen him say similar stuff in another conference. But thank you so much for inviting me. It really is an honor to be here and in such august company, and for the questions that you asked. Let me start out by telling you something that's very relevant to the theme of the session also, which is the role of technology in education. And in Government of Punjab, one of my favorite projects was to digitize the textbooks, school textbooks in Punjab. ये मैंने शुरू किया था in 2000, I think about 14-15, and it started out with this news item that came out, which basically said कि स्कूलों में वक्त पे सिलेबस की किताबें नहीं पहुंची, तो इसलिए स्कूल की क्लासेस वक्त पे शुरू नहीं हो पा रही. So I called up the chairman of the Punjab textbook board, essentially to give him an earful that why the classes are delayed and why we haven't been able to deliver these textbooks on time. It wasn't my ministry, but I took the liberty of doing that. तो आगे जो साहब बोले वो बड़े ही नफीस आदमी थे, उनके इंतकाल हो गया, अल्लाह उनको जन्नत नसीब करे. उनका नाम I'm getting old now also, but it's a very, very good guy and a very good friend of mine. So I called him up and he said कि ये मेरा मसला नहीं है, there is a book publishing mafia that I have to fight with, and it is a very powerful mafia and a very rich mafia which has total monopoly on publishing government books. तो उन्होंने वक्त पे नहीं प्रिंट की, अब आप मेरी मदद करें तो कर सकते हैं हम. मैंने कहा आप मेरे पास आ जाएं शाम को. तो he came and met with me, and it quickly turned out that I couldn't do anything about that mafia either. This was Urdu Bazaar, book publishing mafia, serious stuff. So मैंने कहा इस तरह करते हैं कि हम उनसे इस्तदा कर लेते हैं कि आप हमें किताबों के डिजिटल राइट्स बेच दें, ठीक है. Why don't you sell the digital rights to me and I'll make these books freely available online. तो हमने ये फिर एक 3-way कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किया. मैंने PITB ने, पंजाब टेक्स्ट बुक बोर्ड ने, और इंडिपेंडेंट बुक पब्लिशर्स ने. वी एक्चुअली रोट आउट अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. दे गेव अस book rights of every textbook from grade 6 to grade 12 for 7 rupees per student. ठीक, ये उन्होंने हमसे हिसाब किया और हमें उसके डिजिटल राइट्स बेच दिए. Then I assembled a team of about 30 kids in a room, large room, which we called the e-learn team. और उनका मकसद ये था कि आपने ये तमाम किताबें लेनी है, इनको डिजिटाइज़ करना है, लेकिन जब डिजिटाइज़ कर रहे हो तो हर बुक के चैप्टर और हर कॉन्सेप्ट के साथ आपने वीडियो लेक्चर्स रिकॉर्ड करने हैं, गेम्स बनानी है, एनिमेशंस बनानी है, सिमुलेशंस बनानी है, जहाँ भी कॉपी लेफ्ट कंटेंट, क्रिएटिव कॉमन्स का कंटेंट लेवरेज हो सके उसको लेवरेज कर लें, नहीं तो खुद बना लें. So I got 2D animators, illustrators, people who can give video lectures. I set up a small studio, all of that. तो ये फिर हमने बनाया. उस वक्त एक साहब से मुलाकात भी पता नहीं मौजूद है, इधर नहीं, इस्लामाबाद के थे, सबक फाउंडेशन चलाते थे, इकबाल उनका नाम था. उनको मैंने कॉल की, उन्होंने बड़ी हमारे पे बड़ी मेहरबानी की, उन्होंने अपने कुछ लेक्चर्स हमें दिए. मेरे को एक साहब खान अकेडमी में जानने वाले थे, उनका काम था वहाँ पे उसको लोकलाइज लैंग्वेजेस में ट्रांसलेट करना. उनसे बात करके हमने उर्दू में डब्ड कुछ खान अकेडमी के लेक्चर्स लिए और कुछ अपने बनाए. तो आखिर में ये किताबें जो 6ठी से लेके 12वीं तक थी, 21 किताबें साइंस और मैथ्स की हमने डिजिटाइज़ की और तकरीबन 16,000 वीडियो लेक्चर्स इसमें एम्बेड किए. 16,000 इसमें वीडियो लेक्चर्स भी थे, एनिमेशंस भी थी, सिमुलेशंस भी थी, कार्टून्स भी थे, व्हाटएवर. एंड ऑल्सो हैड ऑडियो वॉइस ओवर. तो किताब अंग्रेज़ी में थी, ऑडियो वॉइस ओवर उर्दू में था. मच लाइक व्हाट यू वुड डू विद ऑडिबल. आई डोंट सीन you've used the audible service or not. I used to use it quite often to hear books. तो मैंने उर्दू में उसकी वॉइस आर्टिस्ट बैठा के उर्दू में सारी ट्रांसक्रिप्शन भी करा दी. अब ये तमाम किताबें अगर आप elearn.punjab.gov.pk पे जाएँ तो आपको ये 21 किताबें, 14,000 सफ़ात, 16,000 वीडियो लेक्चर्स नज़र आएंगे वहाँ पे मौजूद. तो ये तो पहला एक्सपेरिमेंट था और बड़ी बड़ी अरक्रेज़ी करके 4-5 साल के अरसे में ये कारोबार किया गया तमाम, और किताबों को ऑनलाइन डाल दिया गया. इसके बाद फिर जो ख्वाहिश थी वो ये थी कि ये जो हमारे क्लासरूम्स हैं पंजाब में, जो हमारे स्कूल्स हैं 6ठी से 12वीं तक, वी इंट्रोड्यूस दिस टेक्नोलॉजी इन दीज क्लासरूम्स and I wanted to do it in a low cost mechanism. So what we did was that we put up a 14 screen in a classroom and bought 2 tablets per school. ये आजकल सस्ते टैबलेट्स आ जाते हैं, but 2 tablets per school, one for a science teacher, one for a math teacher. And the idea was that we'll script the interaction of the teacher and the student. So classroom में टीचर ने क्या करना है इसको मैं कोरियोग्राफ करूँगा. The teacher will no longer just be able to do what they want to do. They will have to follow a script that I'll write for them. We'll give them pre-canned content loaded on their tablet and they'll show it on a screen to students. So they'll show a video for like 3 minutes and ask a question, then show a video for 7 minutes, then run a game, then run an animation and a simulation and do all of this, right? So ये मैंने डिप्लॉय करना शुरू किया पंजाब भर के स्कूलों में. अभी तक ये दुनिया में किसी को नहीं पता था. पता होता तो अखबार की खबरें, कोर्ट केसेस, नैब की इंक्वायरियाँ, ये बहुत तमाशा है. So I quietly started to do all of that. And then once we had reached critical mass, I invited a friend of mine, उसका नाम सबरीन बेग है. She was at Yale at the time, was doing a PhD in economics, then moved to Delaware as a professor. So Sabreen got a grant from MIT JPAL, the Jameel Lateef Power Television Lab. They give you money to evaluate development projects. So she got money to do a randomized control trial RCT. तो हमने फिर 100 स्कूलों में पंजाब के 200 स्कूलों में 100 को कंट्रोल बनाया, 100 को ट्रीटमेंट बनाया और 100 स्कूलों में इस टेक्नोलॉजी को इम्प्लीमेंट किया गया पंजाब में, जिसमें टीचर्स को ट्रेन किया गया, उनको स्क्रिप्ट दिए गए कि आपने क्लासरूम में ये करना है, उनको लेक्चर्स दिए गए और 8वीं जमात में ये किया गया. 8वीं जमात इज़ गुड बिकॉज 9वीं 10वीं में बोर्ड का एग्ज़ाम है, 5वीं 6ठी में बोर्ड का 5वीं में बोर्ड का एग्ज़ाम है, तो 8th इज़ लाइक पीस टाइम, उसमें रट्टे कम लगाने और समझना ज़्यादा है. तो 8वीं जमात में ये एक्सपेरिमेंट किया गया. एंड दिस एक्सपेरिमेंट रैन फॉर अ ईयर and now Sabreen and I have written a paper which is exciting in the sense that you know, I have many friends, one very famous friend called Karthik Muralidhar who's written many papers on using technology in classrooms. I was also involved with Negropontis group at MIT, just we were doing 1 laptop per child, 1 tablet per child, and all the evidence at the time said that technology is useless in classrooms. Technology only accentuates whatever the teacher is able to deliver. So if you introduce technology in a bad classroom, it'll even accentuate that. तो और भी बुरे रिजल्ट्स आएंगे, बच्चे गेम्स खेलेंगे बैठ के, डिस्ट्रैक्टेड रहेंगे, तो उससे कोई फ़ायदा नहीं होगा. और ये इसमें बहुत बड़े बड़े एक्सपेरिमेंट हो चुके थे और लिखा जा चुका था. मतलब कार्तिक हैज़ रिटन अ पेपर इन नेचर और इकोनॉमिस्ट और व्हाटएवर एंड इट्स फेमस पेपर जिसमें लिखा ये गया कि टेक्नोलॉजी का क्लासरूम्स में कतन कोई फ़ायदा नहीं होता. So Behral, so we started doing this experiment. Sabreen also came from that school of thought and she said it'll be a waste of money, it won't work. We ran this RCT for a year. We were testing students every month. We were interviewing their parents and the teachers and all of that. And we have not just written a paper, a 47-page paper for NBER, National Bureau of Economic Research. It's a top journal for publishing economic research in US. And here are the results. The results are that the math results for these kids, grade 8 kids, and these were randomly chosen schools. किसी में बिजली आ रही, किसी में पानी नहीं आता नलके में, किसी में फर्नीचर टूटा हुआ. These were really randomly selected schools. तो ये जो schools हमने select किए 3 districts में पंजाब में, results ये हैं कि जो math के score हैं jumped up by 120%. The science scores jumped up by 74%. Right? This is a year-long experiment. This is the first experiment in the world that actually produced such significant results. And
Awesome.
the reason it was able to do that was because we spent all the time producing content. We made sure that we script the interaction of the teacher with the student and spend the time training the teachers.
Exactly. This is my second thing, and I'll request Mr. Kasuri that Kasuri Sahab, you are running one of the biggest organization in the private sector as far as education is concerned. Umar just shared his thought and his experience of training the teachers and spreading that digitalization phenomena in Sarkari school. So what is your take? What have you been up to as far as this digitalization in private school is concerned, and with a particular emphasis on the training the teachers, training the trainers?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you again for having me here. I think that it's amazing what I just heard Umar say, particularly given that this initiative took place in the public sector, which we know has its fair share of challenges. Private sector in that sense is more blessed in the sense that we are on the whole able to attract, I think, I would probably say reasonably good teachers. But with education, with technology, we have had, I'll be very honest, even though we have been integrating technology into the curriculum, I was telling you earlier, since the mid-1990s, but the main challenge, and I will back up Umar on that, has been teachers, because unless the instructor, the teacher in the classroom knows how to effectively use the tools that have been provided, they are fairly useless. So for example, you might set up interactive whiteboards in classrooms with the hope that they will be used in an interactive way, but often we'll find that they're just being used to show demonstrations or show videos. Or if kids have iPads, sometimes you'll see that when they're practicing handwriting, instead of doing it on paper, we'll see sometimes when we walk into classrooms, we'll see that kids are doing the same thing on an iPad, which is obviously not adding very much value. But having said that, what we've seen is that this also is a very generational thing. Yeah. So when we initially introduced technology in the classrooms, which was in the 90s, most teachers were not familiar with the tools that were being used. They had not used them, but now over the last 10 to 15 years, as technology has become more prevalent, it's no longer such a unique thing. And in fact, a lot of the younger teachers who come into our schools today, who are maybe in their mid-20s, I would call them, digital natives, meaning that they've grown up with technology the way I'm sure many people over here have experienced with their own children. So for them, I think that understanding is part of, in a way, part of their DNA. So I think that we have had I think that over the last 5 or 6 years, our experience has been more positive.
Thank you. Thank you, Kasuri Sahab. Ali, you have been with the telco since 2016, and my question with you that, as far as the revenue model is concerned, if you go and digitalize some schools, as I've read about the Jazz Foundation, which has taken up this initiative for 75 schools in capital area Islamabad, as far as the digitalization is concerned. So, as a CSR, you might, do that, allocating a certain portion of profit for digitalization and some welfare work. But as a business model, how do you see this very viable option? Because definitely the digitalization and the related peripheries require a huge amount of investment. And until and unless we have money, we can't deploy it back.
Gee, thank you, Rashid. I think what you said is absolutely correct. Philanthropy and CSR has a limited shelf life unless it's got sustainable feet under it.
At Jazz, we're clearly convinced of that model. And in fact, the idea of Jazz Smart School, which is a philanthropic venture to begin with, but once the proof of concept has been delivered, and our findings are very similar to what Umar found, what we did was that we took the 75 girls' high schools in Islamabad, the public sector high schools, not private sector, and we digitalized the curriculum much as the same way as Umar did with a partner, and digitized the curriculum for the 3 classes. 25,000 students have gone through the system. 900 teachers were trained in those 75 schools. And the first matriculation result, so of the girl students that were with us for 2 years, they appeared in the matriculation this year, and we had a 56% improvement. Same school, same teacher, obviously different student because they graduated, purely because of the digitalization of the same curriculum. No addition, no quality addition to that content. And that just tells you that the simple medium of the interactivity that digitalized education provides, whatever the constraints on teacher quality, and we did struggle. In fact, training the 900 teachers proved to be the toughest part of the entire project, and we did not envision that at the beginning of the project. We thought the logistics and managing the connectivity. आपका जो सवाल आया कि how is that sustainable? Very simply, we always knew that it has to be a sustainable business model for Jazz. Jazz is not in the business of education. We experimented with this proof of concept. We have since approached the government and people in the government to say that now this is a scalable, proven, successful idea. Please, government, you take it up. Partner with the likes of Kasim at Beacon House or any other system and run with it. Jazz will become the technology partner to ensure, and there is a business model built in there. Obviously, people will use data and connectivity that powers that for us. So, sustainability is essential, I believe, to digitalize.
Exactly. My question with all of you, and starting with Umar. Umar, since you have worked closely with the government and you have spearheaded a very important administration as far as IT and digitalization was concerned. My question is there any thought on a central level authority for digitalizing the course content? Is there any strategy in order to introduce this digitalization or some bringing some uniformity in the digitalization content of the education, at least the way forward, or some futuristic approach? Because I haven't come across any legislation, any debate in the parliament, any feel in the both section of the parliament, i.e. Senate or National Assembly.
जी उसमें जो important, I think the most important thing to understand about Pakistan, took me several years to unravel this, was that Pakistan doesn't have curriculum authorities. Pakistan has textbook boards. So किसी भी सूबे में आप जाएं तो आपको टेक्स्ट बुक बोर्ड मिलेगा. फिर हम कंप्लेन करते हैं कि बच्चे रट्टे लगाते हैं. भाई जब गवर्नमेंट किताबें पब्लिश कर रही है और करिकुलम नहीं पब्लिश करा तो बच्चे किताबों को याद करना शुरू कर देंगे. दैट्स एग्जैक्टली व्हाट हैपन्स. You have textbook boards which publish standardized texts. You have examiners who set their exams based on these standardized texts. So what do you expect the students to do? They would cram those texts so that they can reproduce them in these exams. Pakistan doesn't have a curriculum authority. One of my things to do in Government of Punjab, again not my ministry but I was trigger happy, was to trigger this debate of having a curriculum authority in Punjab. So we started a curriculum authority, Punjab Curriculum Authority, PCA, was started in 2014-15, and after a lot of effort and pushing back and forth, based on some of the interaction I had with the textbook board in the school education department at the time, many people pushed for it. Eventually it did happen, did not turn out well because we were really up against a lot of friction. And eventually they fought and fought. We finally fired the textbook board chairman and the Punjab Curriculum Authority chairman and then merged the organization. It's now called the Punjab Curriculum and Textbook Authority. And my good friend General Akram, who was a UET vice chancellor at some stage, is now the head of the Punjab Curriculum and Textbook Board Authority. I think the purpose has been diluted, where the goal was not to publish textbooks. The purpose
Exactly.
was to publish curriculum and then have independent book publishers publish their books competing with each other to satisfy that curriculum. So students follow curriculum. मेरा नहीं ख्याल वो हो पाया इस लड़ाई में, लेकिन well, we made progress. We created an authority. I brought both of them down. Then we merged the two. We put in an administrator who really knew how to crack a whip eventually.
Exactly.
And he was cracking his whip regularly. लेकिन मेरा ख्याल है कि वो उस तरह नहीं हुआ. अब ये काम करिकुलम अथॉरिटी वाला सारे पाकिस्तान में करने की जरूरत है.
Maybe हम कसूरी साहब से पूछते हैं. कसूरी साहब, did you offer any help because of the fact that you have some good talent from the private sector in strategize this initiative of government, especially with contact with the background of education, you guys have experience and everything as far as the digitalization is concerned, and making it a priority from the government point of view to make it a sustainable model in Pakistan.
Gee, so we've had, there are a couple of models that I can speak about. So we recently started working with a company which some of you may be familiar with, Knowledge Platform. And what Knowledge Platform does is that it's a Singapore-based company and they have a Pakistan subsidiary. And so what they do is that they have effectively digitized the curriculum and they implement it in both low-cost private schools and in the public sector. And उसका फ़ायदा ये है कि जैसे कि आपको पता है कि कई government schools के अंदर teacher quality is an issue. So the advantage with this particular model is that even if you have a situation where the teacher is, let's say, sort of average or below average, at least there is a baseline curriculum that the kids are following. So then what we did was that we had a few years ago taken over these 48 government schools in Gujranwala as part of our CSR. So Umar will remember that when Mia Shahbaz Sharif was the chief minister.
I hosted that meeting in my office.
You did indeed, and we actually followed up on it. So the Punjab government had identified, I think, 5,000 of the worst performing schools, and they decided to essentially, well, the term that comes to my mind is palm them off on the private sector. And we came forward and we took over these 48 schools in Gujranwala, and we are now planning on introducing this knowledge platform technology over there, because one of the challenges there, of course, is teachers. So I think the big advantage with, one of the things that you had sent me an email before and you wanted to know that is technology going to increase the cost of education?
Exactly, that the cost benefit ratio is always there.
बल्कि आपने ये point out किया था कि आजकल private schools और जो वालिदैन है और हुकूमत के दरमियान जो एक let's say
friction है जो fee increase करने पे
है, तो आपका सवाल ये था कि अगर आप लोग टेक्नोलॉजी ज़्यादा इंट्रोड्यूस करेंगे तो क्या इसकी वजह से कॉस्ट बढ़ जाएगी?
Exactly, sir.
तो मेरा उसके अंदर जवाब ये है कि आई थिंक कि कुछ इंस्टेंसेस के अंदर हो सकता है कि क्योंकि शुरू में जब आप एक इन्वेस्टमेंट करती हैं तो इन्वेस्टमेंट तो करनी पड़ती है, तो दैट्स समथिंग विच वी एज एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन विल हैव टू डू. But I think that moving forward, technology can actually help us to reduce costs. Give you a simple example. Let's say we have a brilliant physics teacher in Karachi, okay, and we don't have brilliant physics teachers in Mandi Bahauddin or in Sakhar or in Narowal or wherever. So now video conferencing has been around for a while, but now video conferencing has reached a stage where it can actually be used very effectively. So that you have that one instructor who can effectively be reaching out to audiences all over the country. Yeah. Similarly, with the example with the knowledge platform, and then I'm sure you guys have heard of Bridge International Academies. Bridge International Academies also runs a similar model. They're operating in Africa in low-cost schools in Africa. In fact, they run low-cost schools in Africa, in which they've developed a digital curriculum, and then they hire relatively new low-cost teachers who effectively just deliver that curriculum. They're doing the same in Pakistan. So I think that using these initiatives, technology can actually help to lower the cost, which will be good for everybody all around.
Definitely, we'll come back to that point. Ali, you have been.
एक जल्दी से बात कह लेने दें, just to complete Kasim's thought. हमने पंजाब गवर्नमेंट में 53,000 स्कूल हैं, 53,000 स्कूल थे, उसमें तकरीबन 7,000 स्कूल ऐसे थे जिसमें एक भी बच्चा बोर्ड का एग्ज़ाम पास नहीं करता था, एक भी स्टूडेंट, 0% पैक का पास रेट था. ओके, so we triggered this idea and I actually very kind of him, but him and others, रात को 9 बजे हमने अपने दफ्तर बुलाया और अपनी स्कूल एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट को बुलाया और कहा आज के बाद आप ये स्कूल तो नहीं चला पा रहे, इनको आउटसोर्स कर दें. So he took over 48, others took some. So I outsourced 4,700 schools at the time. Now these are schools with 0 pass percentage in PEC. 1 year down the road, and this is a public-private partnership story that people talk a lot about, but no one actually does anything about. We outsourced 4,700 schools. He took out 48 of them. The others also participated. अब ये 4,700 स्कूल 0 पैक रेट पास रेट था एजुकेशन बोर्ड का. In 1 year, the pass rate was 58% and the enrollment had tripled. So that is a success story that we need to talk about and do more.
The role of technology did that whole initiative and the plan and everything, that the role.
Technology का कोई role नहीं था, सिर्फ we did the right thing.
Okay, you did the right thing. So my basic question, Kasuri Saab, Ali and Umar Saab, is that, I mean, exactly the same thing. Shamefully, Pakistan is one of the countries in the world where school-going children, 22.8 million school-going children are out of school. They are on the streets, they are, working as a child labor and stuff. So digitalization comes at a next level, maybe the third or fourth. So what is the plan? There should be some plan, and we've talked of the digitalization in an era where 22.8 million estimated kids are out of school. What strategy should be there? How technology can help us in Umar in taking these kids into the mainstream of education system? Yeah, please.
Rashid, this is not an either-or answer. I think very simply, you can't say, and I would respectfully disagree, where you say digitalization is step 3 or 4. It's step 0, as is schools. So bringing kids in and digitalizing education, it's not sequential. ये जो मैंने अपने schools का जिक्र किया, in fact, Knowledge Platform is our partner in the ICT school system, where we're working with the government, and it's a public-private partner initiative as well. देखें, डिजिटलाइजेशन बहुत सी चीज़ों को आसान कर रहा है, बहुत सी चीज़ों को, एज कासिम सेड, सस्ता भी कर देगा, बहुत सी चीज़ों को इम्प्रूव भी कर देगा. Yes, there is a cost to technology, and as I think Umar started to allude to, I personally believe that whatever the private sector may do, because curriculum standardization is, and the government is quite heavily involved in Pakistan, that direction needs to come from government. Exactly. ये private sector इस कमी को पूरा नहीं कर सकता, जितने मर्जी वो initiatives कर लें, और उस scale पे नहीं जा सकता. But honestly, it is not an option कि आप education और digitalization को इकट्ठे ना चलने दें. I think we would be doing a disservice today if we were to say कि नहीं, ये बाद में आएगा, पहले ये कर लें. 22.8 million, equally important. The last point I want to make is, I think another point, a very interesting question you raised, कि जी ये हम जो तालीम दे रहे हैं, अब दुनिया, गूगल, उमर के बहुत से दोस्त MIT ऐसे करिकुला पे जा रहे हैं जो skills training देता है, ना कि knowledge. My response to that is कि जिस तरह I could never be a doctor because the sight of blood made me queasy, और हिसाब मेरे करीब से नहीं गुजरा था. Every child is unique. There will be children who will thrive in a purely academic environment, जहाँ आप literature, हिसाब, philosophy, psychology पढ़ेंगे, and there'll be children who will thrive in a vocational skills enhancement environment. And again, with the 220 million resources that we have to find out and unleash the potential जो इन दोनों sectors को create करे. Education को भी साथ लेके चलना है, और vocational education को भी साथ लेके चलना है, because इन बहुत से ऐसे बच्चे हैं जो स्कूलों में भी हैं, and they're misfits there.
A very good point, Ali. Thank you. And I would ask Umar and Kasuri Saab that Ali just touched upon the topic of traditional academic knowledge versus their skill set. So, is this the word work of technological experts or the IT experts to gauge whether what does society need at this point in time, that they need a specific skill set or they need more educated people, or at some point both of these specific qualities would converge and we may be able to have a good critical mass.
Kasim, quickly, I just want to add to what he just said, but more to the point. See, Pakistan में technology का role इसलिए बहुत ज़रूरी है कि there are 22 million out of school children in this country. There is no other way to reach out to these students but to use technology, and therefore it is not something that comes at step 4 or step 3. It is crucial that we somehow exploit technology to reach out to these children. But देखिए out of school children का जो challenge है वो ज़रा ज़्यादा profound है. Challenge ये नहीं कि ये बच्चे स्कूलों से बाहर हैं. You can with some effort bring these children back to schools. However, they are not grade level appropriate. एक बच्चा स्कूल से ड्रॉप आउट कर गया, वालदैन ने उसको कारपेट की दुकान में बिठा दिया या फसलें काटने पे लगा दिया, ठीक है. 2 साल बाद आप किसी एफर्ट से उस बच्चे को क्लासरूम वापस ले आए, उस बच्चे की उम्र और जो उसका ग्रेड लेवल उसका मिसमैच है, वो अपने बाकी जो क्लास के बच्चे उनसे बहुत पीछे है. इतना पीछे है कि इफ़ यू पुट दिस चाइल्ड नो इन ग्रेड 4, ही ड्रॉप्ड आउट ग्रेड 2, यू पुट हिम इन ग्रेड 4, the teacher is teaching in Greek for this child. There is no way he can catch up. So this kid is going to drop out again. So technology का जो सबसे बड़ा रोल है जो इंडिया में बहुत सक्सेसफुली इस्तेमाल हुआ है, स्पेशली गुजरात में, वो है through a company called MindSpark, which is a big success story in the academic world, is to be able to customize the learning for the student. Each student in the classroom gets a customized lesson plan or tutorial. Even though they're at the same grade level, they are at different capabilities. In this case, they are at different levels of learning altogether because the kid dropped out and was brought back into the classroom. So मेरी ये राय है कि, और ये मुझे बहुत प्रॉब्लम था गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स के अंदर, मतलब as in trying to address this 22 million out of school children problem. The problem was threefold. One, these children were out of school. There was an opportunity cost to bring them back in. Two, they had to be made grade appropriate, which means that once they came in, the second chance program had to use technology to accelerate their learning. And three, you had to retain these students in the classroom by giving stipend to parents and so on to offset their cost, कि वापस वो दिहाड़ी पे ना लग जाएं बच्चे. So ये जो out of school children का problem है, इसमें technology can play a fundamental role in addressing it. So it's not at level 4 or 5. This really is at level 0 for a very large number of students in Pakistan. But Kasim was going to.
नहीं जी, मैं बिल्कुल 100% इनके साथ एग्री करता हूँ विद बोथ माई कॉलीग्स. टेक्नोलॉजी इज़ दी ओनली वे टू एड्रेस इट एंड it has been used for many years. I was telling you earlier that we organized this conference at Beacon House called School of Tomorrow. तो उसके अंदर एक दो speakers हमारे जो आए थे, what they were talking about the role of something as simple as radio, जो कि हम बहुत एक पुराने ज़माने की टेक्नोलॉजी समझते हैं, to reach out to children in far-flung villages in South Asia where there were no schools. So it wasn't a matter of, their child labor or that they were not working because the parents wouldn't let them work. So this was a way of reaching out to those kids. So yeah, definitely technology is the way. जो आपने मेरे से सवाल पूछा था skills या
skill set या educated kids, I mean, or convergence at one point, I mean, of both of these.
उसके अंदर जी मेरा ज़ाती तौर पे ये व्यू है कि we really have to focus on what people like to call 21st century skills, जो कि जिसके ऊपर बीकन हाउस के अंदर भी हम काफ़ी ज़्यादा जिसको अहमियत देते हैं. So 21st century skills, what are they? It's not rocket science actually. It would be things like problem solving, critical thinking, teamwork, collaboration, research skills. So these skills are very important because, as I'm sure all of us have heard and many people in the audience would have heard, many of the jobs that exist today will not exist in the future. I'm sorry, I'm sure ये आप लोगों ने बहुत दफ़ा सुना होगा, लेकिन मैं फिर भी ये रिपीट करना चाह रहा हूँ कि और जो फ्यूचर के अंदर कई जॉब्स एग्जिस्ट करती हैं वो आज एग्जिस्ट नहीं करते. तो अगर हम बच्चों को सिर्फ आज की रिक्वायरमेंट्स के ऊपर एजुकेट करेंगे तो यू माइट फाइंड दैट दे बिकम somewhat redundant in the next 10 to 15 years. So I think that skills are therefore very important so that kids have the capacity to actually continually educate themselves. They have the capacity because also you have to educate children how to learn. so that they can keep improving, they can keep developing. So I think skills are very important. Lekin, having said that, some basic concepts of knowledge, you mentioned in your email to me, mathematics, I think are very important. But I think that it's also important to teach mathematics in a way that children can relate to. जिस तरीके से अक्सर स्कूलों के अंदर मैथ्स पढ़ाया जाता है वो ये है कि वही बच्चे फार्मूलाज को के रटे लगाती हैं, वो एग्ज़ाम के ऊपर उस फार्मूला के ऊपर क्वेश्चंस आती हैं, उसके बाद फिर आप बिल्कुल भूल जाती हैं. लेकिन जो उसके अंदर मिसिंग लिंक है वो ये है कि बच्चे को ये नहीं पता होता कि अगर मैं ये क्वाड्रेटिक इक्वेशन सीख रहा हूँ या पाइथागोरियन फार्मूला या जो भी है सीख रहा हूँ, तो इसका मेरी एक्चुअल डे टू डे लाइफ के अंदर इसकी एप्लीकेशन क्या हो सकती है. सो दैट बिट इज़ मिसिंग. सो आई थिंक वन नीड्स टू काइंड ऑफ फोकस ऑन द एप्लीकेशन साइड, but definitely focus on 21st century skills as well.
Umar, the fear factor, Kasuri sahab just talked about very many of the professions will be outdated in future. How far that is correct, that the teachers, being a traditional teacher's role, would also be minimized, if not eliminated, through the use of technology? But because that thing is, whenever you go to some futuristic conference, wherever you go to listen to some, technology related guy, he or she would always talk about, the robotics, AI, and plethora of things, which inculcates a feeling of fear that, okay, we will be outdated in future.
इसमें इस तरह है कि मुझे लगता है स्कूल एजुकेशन में, दिस माय व्यू, माय ओपिनियन, so you can disagree.
Not a research-based thing, right?
My opinion is that in school education you can never replace the school, because a child gets a lot from a classroom and a teacher and their peers and in a school experience that you cannot get in any other setting. However, in the higher education, the university experience is going through a radical transformation. When I was at MIT, they had the open courseware, OCW, which was essentially taking all of our courses and making them online. Then the next step they took was to make it such that we allow MOOCs, which is a lot of students registering in these courses online and then doing an automated test and getting a pass certificate through this. Now they've spun that off into what is called edX, which is between Harvard, MIT, but 170 other education institutions. And they have turned these courses into online courses which you pay a small amount of fee, and you not only just get a pass-fail certificate, you get a letter grade from them. So when I started my university in Lahore, IT University, it's a government university. So हमने जब शुरू की तो उसमें I signed a contract with edX. और उनको ये कहा कि आप हमें, उनको इसको माइक्रो मास्टर्स कहते हैं, वो 4 masters is 8 courses, so they'll take 4 courses and tie them together in a micro master. जैसे हमारा डेटा साइंस का प्रोग्राम था, मास्टर्स था, उसमें 4 कोर्सेज यूनिवर्सिटी खुद पढ़ाती थी, 4 हम माइक्रो मास्टर के लेते थे, और UCSD का कोर्स था ये, यूनिवर्सिटी कैलिफोर्निया सैन डिएगो. तो वो आपको प्रॉपर ग्रेडिंग होती थी, प्रॉपर लेक्चर्स हैं रिकॉर्डेड, असाइनमेंट्स हैं, होमवर्क है विच गेट ग्रेडेड. ईच स्टूडेंट वाज पेइंग नॉट अ लॉट ऑफ मनी. जो ITU में फ़ीस थी 20,000 रुपया महीना बच्चे की, उसमें से 10,000 edX को जाते थे, और they would my teacher would take that course and offer that in a classroom. Ab what edX is doing, it's run by someone who hired me at MIT, so my mentor runs edX. जब भी मैं उससे बात करता हूँ तो वो इस वक्त बहुत ज़्यादा focused है in what he calls unbundling the university experience. He says a university is a dormitory, it's a classroom, it's assignments, it's maybe lectures in a place like MIT जहाँ पर 700 लोगों की क्लास होती है. Not as much lectures, a lot of lectures are recorded, people hear them in their dorm rooms. It is a little bit of research, a little bit of that. How about we unbundle our university? The teaching, the living experience there, the peer interaction. How do you unbundle it? तो edX जो अब उसको unbundle कर रहा है. अब certification तो आपको मिल रही है MIT से certified, आप कोर्स पढ़ते हैं, उसको टेस्ट देते हैं, आपको सर्टिफिकेशन मिल जाती है, उस पर MIT की मोड़ लगी होती है, उस पर लेटर ग्रेड होता है, तो वो तो मिल गया. अब और क्या यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर, तो और जो चीज़ें हैं उसका वो उस तरह बिल्ड करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि क्या इसमें पीयर इंटरेक्शन बिल्ड किया जा सकता है, क्या रिमोट यूनिवर्सिटीज़ के साथ पार्टनरशिप की जा सकती है कि पीयर एक्सपीरियंस और क्लासरूम एक्सपीरियंस वो बता दें. टीचर का इसमें क्या रोल होगा, क्योंकि अब कंटेंट टीचर ओरिजिनेट नहीं कर रहा, सिर्फ फैसिलिटेट कर रहा है डिलीवरी के लिए. सो आई थिंक द हायर एजुकेशन इन दिस वर्ल्ड इज गोइंग थ्रू अ रेडिकल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन बिटवीन Coursera's and Udacity's and Udemy's and edX and so on and so forth, ये तमाम दुनिया 5-10 साल में यूनिवर्सिटी की दुनिया जो है ये यकसर बदल गई होगी.
Exactly. My second question, I mean, the next question was about, the role of technology in the higher education, because seldom do we hear about, LUMS offering any MBA program online as compared to, other universities, or IBA has not started anything online degree program or undergraduate program. So what do you see? I mean, how this gap can be bridged through the use of technology, both of you? Yeah.
I think we're actually collaborating with LUMS on LUMS X. LUMS has taken this mantle off in Pakistan, and we've had a couple of conversations जहाँ कोशिश यही है कि जो दुनिया के पॉपुलर मूक्स हैं उनको हम उर्दू ज़ुबान में, because access to the population in Pakistan in English is severely limited. So Jazz is working with LUMS to try and translate that content into Urdu. We've already proven successful MOOCs. I think Learning to Learn is one of the world's biggest MOOC, and that's the first one we've translated, or together with LUMS doing that. I think Rashid, जिस तरह हमने बाकी चीज़ों में भी डिस्कस किया, बिल्कुल टेक्नोलॉजी हायर एजुकेशन को इम्पैक्ट करेगा. मैं अब आपको छोटा सा एग्जांपल देता हूँ कि I went to university a long time ago and had to buy a lot of textbooks. It was expensive, और वो छोटे छोटे कमरे होते थे डॉर्मेटरीज के, वो टेक्स्ट बुक्स स्टोर करना. My son went off to college this fall, and last month I got a bill on my credit card. वो काफ़ी ज़्यादा बिल था, and I told him कि पाकिस्तानी क्रेडिट कार्ड बाहर ना इस्तेमाल करना, इसमें फ़ी ज़्यादा ठुकती है. तो when I asked him कि तुमने कहाँ चार्ज किया, उसने कहा जी ये एक प्रोग्राम है जहाँ सारी टेक्स्ट बुक्स आर अवेलेबल ऑनलाइन, and for a fixed fee a month I get access to those textbooks. I don't have to buy them. So he gets a right for that monthly payment to use that textbook, and as all of the courses are digital and online, it makes his life much easier. He's at a physical university, he's going to a physical class, लेकिन जो टेक्स्ट बुक और टीचर स्टूडेंट इंटरेक्शन जिस तरह उमर ने कहा वो फंडामेंटली चेंज हो गया एज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी. This, I would be very excited about this unbundling project that Umar talked about, that his mentor was doing. Honestly, I've had the privilege of going to 4 educational establishments in different countries. To me, that experience cannot be replicated online, unfortunately.
Sure.
And the biggest advantage, जो आपने teachers की बात की कि teachers की job, I don't think the job will be eliminated. They will have to retrain their pedagogical skills to manage this environment. और हमने जो ये knowledge platform के साथ school run किया है, उसमें fundamentally जो सबसे ज़्यादा change आई है वो teachers में आई है. So Aisha, my colleague, is sitting here. We went to a few of those schools. There was a 55-year-old teacher who never touched a computer in her life and is now teaching a course on a computer to her students. And when you speak to her, and we can manage that, she's in Islamabad, the excitement that she's going through becoming part of this digital sort of revolution is incredible. तो मैं last part जो करूँगा, जो मेरे teachers was, the importance to me was not what they taught me but how they taught me. And I think that interaction is critical. और education में आप किसी level पे भी जाएं, जो अच्छे उस्ताद उस्तादज़ा हैं वो आपको सारी ज़िंदगी याद रहते हैं.
वेरी ट्रू. इकबाल ने 100 साल पहले कहा था कि है दिल के लिए मौत मशीनों की हुकूमत, एहसास मुरव्वत को कुचल देते हैं आलात. That philosopher thought about this more than 100 years ago, कि yes, by taking over everything by technology, the soft aspect and the personal connection, वो शफ़क़त, मोहब्बत, डांटना, फिटकारना, कान पकड़वा के खड़े करना, वो सारी चीज़ें जो हैं वो ख़त्म होंगी या कम हो जाएंगी. कसूरी साहब, coming back to you.
Can I quickly just add one thing to what Ali said? I as a professor, I
Sure.
can't agree more. But I don't want to be out of job. That's what I've done all my life. But I think there's a lot of wisdom to what he said. But here is an interesting thing for everyone to think about. Do you know what's the most successful literacy project in India? You'll be surprised to hear. This was done by a friend of ours from WEF and YGL. So the project is, and he sent me an email yesterday to just update me on how well that experiment has gone. प्रोजेक्ट ये है कि बॉलीवुड की जितनी फिल्में हैं और बच्चों के जितने कार्टून हैं वो तमाम सब टाइटल होते हैं, सब टेक्स्ट होते हैं इंडिया में। अब उसकी वजह से ही स्टार्टेड डूइंग दिस। तो बच्चा जो कार्टून देख रहा है या फिल्म देख रहा है वो उसकी हिंदी या अंग्रेज़ी नीचे पढ़ रहा है, right? And he tracked this, and he had cameras tracking the children's attention. These were children who couldn't read or write, and he taught hundreds of thousands of children to read and write by subtexting cartoons and Bollywood films. अब कुछ states में उन्होंने regulate कर दिया है कि इसके बगैर टीवी पे content चल ही नहीं सकता. No teacher involved. Brilliant idea, brilliant idea. Just subtexting Bollywood films and cartoons are done by a mutual friend of ours from the World Economic Forum in India.
Very good. I mean, as far as the part of gaming is concerned, you know, the teaching kids mathematics and everything, पाकिस्तान में क्या स्कोप देख रहे हैं इसका कि गेमिंग के ज़रिए उनकी स्किल्स को हॉन किया जाए, स्किल सेट को, या और दूसरी चीज़ों के ज़रिए जो कि उनमें इंटरेस्ट पैदा हो मैथमेटिकल और एनालिटिकल स्किल्स के लिए। कसूरी साहब, आपका एक्सपीरियंस रहा इस चीज़ के ऊपर? कोई लोकल ऐसा कोई इंक्यूबेटर है, कोई फंड ऐसा है जिसने ये कुछ बनाया हो? कोई
जी, it's something that we are beginning to explore, both gaming as well as virtual reality, to see what the applications of those could be in the classroom. Gaming and one of the big things, one of the key components of it is the actual coding part, writing the software, and coding is a tremendous way of getting kids to think in a logical sequence,
exactly.
Bringing in concepts of mathematics, computer science, logic. So it is something that we are looking at, because we all see, I mean, as a parent, I see my own son completely addicted to computer games, and in fact he's now started to create basic computer games by downloading some software online. But to be honest, it's not something in which we've done a lot of work at the moment, but we are exploring it. Virtual reality is another brilliant kind of medium. Once it reaches, again, you see, technology goes through a certain phase, and so the kind of virtual reality that we see today is very, I would call it sort of clumsy and rudimentary. Yeah, जिस तरह आपको याद होगा जब शुरू में वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग इंट्रोड्यूस हुई थी तो वो हर वो it was not smooth and seamless the way it is now. Now we take it for granted, whether it's on Skype or it's a WhatsApp video call or whatever. So I feel that when virtual reality reaches that level, imagine the potential, especially in subjects like history and geography. आप ये इमेजिन करें कि अब लेट्स से अगर आप वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 या वर्ल्ड वॉर 1 को स्टडी कर रहे हैं, रादर दैन के पास आप टेक्स्ट बुक के अंदर उसके बारे में पढ़ रहे हैं, अगर इफ़ यू कैन एक्चुअली इमर्स योर सेल्फ इन दैट एनवायरनमेंट, या और यू कैन explore the pyramids, you can actually touch them, you can go into the tunnels, I think that it would be absolutely phenomenal. In fact, I was reading that virtual reality may soon reach the level where it could actually affect global tourism, because अगर आपने pyramids को visit करना है या किसी beach पे जाना है या I don't know Versailles जाना है या जिधर भी जाना है, तो और आप sitting in your home wearing a headset and wearing those hand, what do you call them, the gloves, if you can immerse yourself in that environment, it may actually have an impact on people actually wanting to visit those places. I know right now this sounds a bit like science fiction, because we haven't reached that level yet, but I feel कि इसके अंदर education के अंदर tremendous opportunity है.
Thank you. Just because we are running out of time, before I take questions, Umar Saab, Ali and Kasuri Saab, this is, I mean, not a very, I don't expect any concrete answer for this, but, on a scale 1 to 10, Pakistan is, at very much infancy as far as the digitalization of the education is concerned. But very briefly, could you just, answer this? Are we heading in a right direction? Do we need to have a detailed strategy for that? And how to change the mindset in order to embrace the technology in education? Kasuri Sahab, starting from you, sir.
जी वो डिपेंड करता है, जब आप वी कहते हैं तो
We as a nation, basically.
वो मसला यही है कि फ्रैगमेंटेशन इतनी ज़्यादा है कि आई डोंट नो अगर वी एज अ नेशन का कोई एक प्लेटफॉर्म है, लेकिन मेरे ख्याल में होना चाहिए
The parliament is supposed to provide the national leaders. They are there to, they're not here to take the contracts और टेंडर लेने के लिए और सारे फायदे के लिए तो नहीं है ना, कुछ थोड़ा सा सोच के कुछ आवाम को भी तो कुछ रिटर्न करने के लिए हैं वो।
जी बिल्कुल बिल्कुल होना चाहिए, लेकिन उमर को शायद इस चीज़ के ऊपर बेहतर कमेंट कर सकती हैं बिकॉज वो इतने अरसे गवर्नमेंट के अंदर रही हैं। लेकिन मुझे ज़ाती तौर के ऊपर अदर दैन पॉकेट्स ऑफ एक्सलेंस लाइक थिंग्स दैट पीपल आर डूइंग इन वेरी स्मॉल पॉकेट्स, बट I don't really personally see a focus strategy, but then because I'm not part of discussions at that level, so maybe I don't know, but I think that it would really be beneficial if we could create a platform in which all different stakeholders from public and private sector can get together and try to develop a national strategy. I think that would be great.
How this environment of digitalization could be further stimulated? I mean, the things can be
वेल अगेन डिपेंड करता है जी, जैसे कि हम डिस्कस कर रहे थे, स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट हर इंस्टीट्यूशन का या हर बंदे की अंडरस्टैंडिंग का डिफरेंट है। तो आई थिंक दैट फर्स्ट वी नीड टू काइंड ऑफ develop some kind of clarity in terms of where we are and where we want to go. Are we talking about artificially intelligent teachers, or are we talking about digitization of the curriculum or something else?
Exactly. This is Umar Saab, since you are very politically correct person to answer this, that you see where do we stand right now, and क्या strategy होनी चाहिए, क्या national consensus होना चाहिए, किस तरह government या private sector या relevant people could provide stimulation और सारा कुछ इसको बेहतर तरीके से लेके आए जा सकते हैं।
Well, thank you for calling me politically correct. I am anything but. I am certainly someone who challenges the status quo quite a bit. लेकिन मुझे लगता ये है कि इस मुल्क में क्योंकि इतनी कम पॉजिटिव काम और ख़बरें हैं कि उनको सेलिब्रेट करना बहुत ज़रूरी है। और मैं कभी भी क्रिटिसाइज़ नहीं करता कि अब वी एज ए नेशन किधर जा रहे हैं। जब मैं करता था तो मुझे मालूम है कितना मुश्किल था ये जब मैंने 4700 स्कूल आउटसोर्स किए थे तो मेरे दफ्तर के बाहर 2 दफ़ा मुजाहरा किया था टीचर्स ने, जिनकी 70,000 रुपया तनख्वाह होती है, ये को 25,000 रुपया देते महीने का, तो वो गवर्नमेंट उनको 70,000 रुपया देती है, वो स्कूल भी नहीं जाते पढ़ाने के लिए, तो उनको लगता था उनकी नौकरियां चली जाएंगी, तो उन्होंने मेरे दफ्तर के रास्ते 2 दिन बंद करके रखे थे और मुझे थ्रेट्स वगैरह करते थे फ़ोन करके। जब मैंने ये टेक्स्ट बुक बोर्ड का ये मामला किया था तो कोर्ट में 3 रिट्स हुई थी मेरे ख़िलाफ़। तो मुझे मालूम है कि ये कितना मुश्किल काम है करना। यही मैं नैब का जो इन्वेस्टिगेटर मुझे आजकल लगाया उन्होंने मेरे साथ, उसको यही बैठ के समझाया मैंने कि मेरे भाई ये अच्छे काम किए थे और बाकियों को भी करने दो, नहीं तो आज तो मुझे बुला रहे हो, कल मैं उनको बुलाना शुरू कर दूंगा।
तो चेंजिंग द माइंडसेट बेसिकली मेरे क्वेश्चन का एक मतलब ये भी था कि देखिए माइंडसेट।
लेट मी डॉज योर क्वेश्चन बाय टेलिंग यू अनदर स्टोरी। ओके, हियर इज द स्टोरी, हियर इज अ पॉजिटिव स्टोरी। वो आपने शुरू में एक सवाल किया था जिसका मैंने तब जवाब नहीं दिया, वो ये था कि वोकेशनल स्किल्स को टेक्नोलॉजी कैसे मदद कर सकती है। नाउ आई स्टार्टेड अ प्रोग्राम मैनी ईयर्स अगो, बट लेट मी टेल यू द बैकग्राउंड ऑफ दैट प्रोग्राम। तो मैं एक दफ़ा अपने दफ्तर में बैठा हुआ था तो एक यंग लड़का आया, 17 साल का था, गवर्नमेंट कॉलेज में पढ़ा था और मैथ स्टैट्स इकोनॉमिक्स में अंडरग्रेड शुरू किया था उसने। तो आया, जो साहब उसको साथ लेके आए, उन्होंने कहा ये बच्चा जो है ये $4,500 महीने के बनाता है इंटरनेट पर, $4,500। अब $4,500 मेरी तनख्वाह से काफ़ी ज़्यादा थे उस वक्त, और PITB में जितने मुलाजमीन थे सबकी तनख्वाह से ज़्यादा थे। तो हम बड़े फैसिनेट हुए कि भाई तुम क्या करते हो? उसने कहा कि मैं एक वर्डप्रेस की थीम है उसको बनाया हुआ और इंटरनेट पे बेचता हूँ और उससे मैं $4,500 महीने के बनाता हूँ। मैंने कहा आपकी तरह के और भी लोग हैं पाकिस्तान में? उसने कहा जी ये तो तकरीबन 1 लाख लोगों की कम्युनिटी हम यंग बच्चों की, जिनको हुकूमत और प्राइवेट सेक्टर नौकरियाँ नहीं दे सके लेकिन यूनिवर्सिटियों ने डिग्रियाँ दे दी। तो तालीम तो है, हमारे पास मुलाजमतें नहीं हैं। तो हमने खुद ही से फिगर आउट किया कि दुनिया की जो ग्लोबल वर्क फोर्स है, जो कि freelancer.com, जो fiverr.com, upwork.com, elance.com के ऊपर छोटे छोटे $5-5, $10-10 के काम देती है, तो हम वो तो इंजाम दे सकते हैं। तो मैंने ये वर्डप्रेस की थीम बना के बेचनी शुरू कर दी। 1 लाख और लोग हैं, कोई मेडिकल ट्रांसक्रिप्शन करता है बैठ के, कोई अंग्रेज़ी लिखता है बैठ के, कोई लोगो डिज़ाइन करता है बैठ के, कोई सोशल मीडिया मार्केटिंग करता है बैठ के, और ये 1 लाख लोग हैं और ये साल में पाकिस्तान के लिए $850 मिलियन बनाते हैं। $850 मिलियन। आई वॉज आई नेवर हर्ड ऑफ दिस। मैंने तो रिक्शों के पीछे लिखा देखा था कि इंटरनेट के जरिए पैसे बनाए, तो मुझे लगा था स्कैम है। बट बाय मीटिंग दिस यंग गाय आई बिकेम अ बिलीवर वेरी क्विकली। So I said, all right, what can we do to help you out? He said, I need to buy my computer, I need to buy internet, I need to buy a UPS and a generator. तो उन सारों में पैसे खर्च हो जाते हैं, तो मैंने जो 30-40 हज़ार रुपये इसके थ्रू बनाना है महीने में, वो मैं बना नहीं पाता. तो मैंने कहा ठीक है, we made 40 रोज़गार centers in Punjab, in 40 education institutions in Jhelum, in Bakhar, God knows what, where जिस हर यूनिवर्सिटी कॉलेज में हमने ये रोज़गार सेंटर में एक लैब्स थी जिनको रेट्रोफिट किया और अपने ट्रेनर्स रखे और वो 3 महीने का कोर्स पढ़ाते थे स्टूडेंट्स को. अभी भी यही रोज़गार सेंटर्स पंजाब में एग्जिस्ट करते हैं, अभी 27 के 28 अभी भी हैं. तो वो 3 माह के लिए पढ़ाते हैं और आपको अंग्रेज़ी लिखनी आती है, आपने इस्लामियत पढ़ी है, आपने अकाउंटिंग पढ़ी है, आपने आई.कॉम किया, आपने बी.कॉम किया, जो भी किया है. अगर आप लेजर मेंटेन कर सकते हैं, आपको लोगो डिज़ाइन कर सकते हैं, आपको रिबन डिज़ाइन कर सकते हैं, आप कोई कंटेंट को प्रूफ रीड कर सकते हैं, कॉपी एडिट कर सकते हैं, आप कोई कोड लिख सकते हैं, वर्डप्रेस की थीम बना सकते हैं, तमाम चीज़ें मोनेटाइजेबल हैं फ्रॉम अ फ्यू सेंट्स टू अ फ्यू $1,000 ऑन द इंटरनेट. So we trained this workforce. We have now trained, I was just told by my colleagues at PITB yesterday, we have now trained 9,500 people in these 29 centers. मैंने 40 बनाने थे, बीच में मामला ख़राब हो गया तो 29 बने अभी तक. And these kids have made 13 crore रुपया from online freelancing. They were trained on technology to use these platforms. They already had the education and the skill. We just retooled them. They became part of this global workforce. But I will end by telling you an interesting statistic. पाकिस्तान में हर साल तकरीबन 5-6 लाख बच्चे यूनिवर्सिटी की तालीम लेके निकलते हैं और जॉब सिर्फ 50,000 हैं जॉब मार्केट में थी. अब तो शायद वो अब नेगेटिव में अब नहीं है बिल्कुल. ठीक, तो ये 5-6 लाख बेरोज़गार बच्चे यूनिवर्सिटी की डिग्रियाँ लेके हर साल हम मार्केट में डाल देते हैं. अब अगर हम इनमें से 1 मिलियन बच्चों को, 10 लाख बच्चों को यही फ्रीलांसिंग सिखाएं कि वो ग्लोबल मार्केट प्लेस में अपने लिए दिन में $30 बनाने शुरू करें. सो दे आर रीटूल्ड to use their education to make $30 online per day, which is possible. 1 million kids. Do you know how much they make per year for Pakistan? $10 billion. And this is a country जिसकी सारी export, foreign exports is $20 billion. तो $10 billion बेरोजगार बच्चे इस इकोनॉमी में ऐड कर सकते हैं, यानी कि आपकी एक्सपोर्ट्स 1.5 टाइम्स हो जाएगी by just training a million kids to use their education and skill which they already have online to make $5 to $10, $30 a day. So
Umar sir, thank you. Wonderful thing. आपका last word चाहिए होगा मुझे because we are short of time. अगर कोई relevant question हो, no comments, no speech, please.
Please.
Or we can combine the question as well. I mean, you know, if somebody thinks कि जी उसका question मिलता जुलता है तो please start with the ladies first.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम. My question is to you, sir. That very basic topic we were talking about digitalizing content. मुझे अभी तक समझ नहीं आया कि by digitalizing content how did you add value in teaching, like what Sir Kasuri was talking about, the 21st century skills, collaboration, creativity, problem solving, communication, what long list, right?
Thank you.
That a teacher can, the way she implements with a simple content, she can enhance higher order thinking.
Question, please, question. I said
The question
emphasize.
is, teacher with the simple content, teacher can enhance higher order thinking and all those 21st century skills which he mentioned.
Thank you.
But with digital content, what a value it had added. मुझे तो अभी तक समझ ही नहीं
अब
आया.
इसके ऊपर बात हुई है डिटेल. एक और क्वेश्चन ले
मुझे
लेते
अभी
हैं.
पूरी टॉक में समझ ही नहीं आया
मैं थोड़ा जवाब
कि
देने की
कैसे आपने
मैं आपको
जवाब
मैं आपको
दीजिए
बता
जी.
गवर्नमेंट स्कूल था जी इस्लामाबाद में F7 में. मैथ्स की टीचर आती थी, किताब खोलती थी, कहती थी आज हम पढ़ेंगे आइसोसेलेस ट्रायंगल लेट्स से, और वो 40 बच्चियों की क्लास है, ये रियल लाइफ इवेंट है. अब विद डिजिटल कंटेंट, अच्छा उसमें क्या होता था, टीचर आके आपको कॉन्सेप्ट समझाती थी. जो हाई अचीवर्स हैं या जो लैगार्ड्स हैं क्लास में, उनको एक ही किस्म का कंटेंट मिल रहा है. ठीक है ना, फ़र्क तो नहीं हो सकता, एक सबक एक ही लेवल पे पढ़ाया जा सकता. अब जब हमने ये नॉलेज प्लेटफॉर्म वाला प्लान इंट्रोड्यूस किया है, टीचर वही टीचर आती है क्लास में, लेकिन अब वो टेक्स्ट बुक से नहीं पढ़ा रही, वो आके कंप्यूटर प्रोग्राम ऑन करती है. कंप्यूटर कहता है बच्चों आज हम आइसोसेलेस ट्रायंगल पढ़ेंगे, उसमें गेमिफिकेशन भी है, उसमें इंटरैक्टिव एक्सरसाइजेज भी हैं, टीचर साइड पे खड़ी है. अब वो जब कॉन्सेप्ट समझा देता है प्रोग्राम आइसोसेलेस ट्रायंगल का, वो कहता है जी अब हम एक सवाल पूछते हैं कि आपको ये कॉन्सेप्ट समझ आया है कि नहीं. ये प्रोजेक्शन जो कंप्यूटर स्क्रीन है वो बच्चों के साथ इंटरैक्ट कर रही है. हर बच्ची के पास एक क्लिकर है जिस पे वो जवाब देती है. वो कहते हैं जी ये बताएं ये आइसोसेलेस ट्रायंगल है कि नहीं, A है, B नहीं है, जो भी options है. If 80% of the class answers that question correctly, the teacher allows the content to move on. अगर वो सवाल सिर्फ 20% बच्चियां सही देंगी, वो टीचर मैन्युअली इंटरवीन करके कहेगी आपको कॉन्सेप्ट क्यों नहीं समझ आया. और जब आपने बात की हायर वैल्यू की, पहले टीचर, मैं खुद उस्ताद नहीं हूँ, उमर हैं, बहुत से लोग ऑडियंस में होंगे, लेकिन मुझे पता है कि टीचर का मकसद होता है लीस्ट कॉमन डिनोमिनेटर को ऊपर करना. दैट्स हाउ द परफॉर्मेंस आर जज्ड. थ्रू डिजिटल एजुकेशन अब टीचर जो हाई अचीवर्स हैं और जो आपके बिल्कुल लोएस्ट अचीवर्स हैं उन पर फोकस कर सकती है, क्योंकि वो सबक नहीं पढ़ा रही, सबक डिजिटल प्रोग्राम पढ़ा रहा है. ये एक बहुत छोटा सा एग्जाम्पल है, इससे कोई PhD रॉकेट साइंटिस्ट नहीं बन जाएंगे, लेकिन द क्वालिटी ऑफ एजुकेशन, उमर ने बात की जो पंजाब में प्रोग्राम हुआ है, इस्लामाबाद के स्कूलों में 2 साल में 56% इम्प्रूवमेंट आई है. क्यों आई है? क्योंकि टीचर्स अब सही जहाँ उनकी इंटरवेंशन है फोकस कर रहे हैं, ना कि सबक पढ़ाने.
Ali, thank you. We are running out of time. One more last question, ji, because we have to.
I am Chand Rizvi, Assistant Professor of English. I come from Laya. My first question is to Mr. Kasuri. We know that Harrow Public School is offering online education to children living far away from England. So can Beacon House, are you thinking of starting such programs? And my second question is that you have discussed how the classroom work should be carried out with the help of this all digital things. Another important thing is evaluation of kids. So how can technology help examiners to be just and to be fair in evaluating the kids? Thank you.
Right. First question is quite business oriented and directly pointed.
It's a very quick answer. I won't take much time. Yes, we are looking at a couple of options. It may not be through the Beacon House platform. It could be a different platform. But what we are very actively doing now is moving towards a hybrid curriculum where kids who are already within the schools have the opportunity to access the curriculum at home, so that their parents can also be a part of the learning process, and all the resources and all are available online. As far as reaching out to kids who are not within our existing schools, we are looking at that separately.
With this, I'll say, I mean, personally, आप लोग मिल लीजिएगा, अगर कोई क्वेश्चन होंगे तो guest are there, new session is about to be. हाँ, पूछ ली जल्दी.
क्योंकि वो लोग ट्रेडिशनल आपकी डिग्रीज वगैरह को करते हैं व्यू, लेकिन कोर्सेरा पे अगर मैं कोर्स करता हूँ तो आई हैव वन कोर्स जिसमें यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ पेंसिल्वेनिया की मेरे पास है वो, तो वो कितना मुझे मदद करेंगे हायर एजुकेशन परस्यू करने में, प्रिंसटन या इस येल टाइप की यूनिवर्सिटीज़ के लिए?
नहीं, मेरा ख्याल है कि जो आपके एडमिशंस हैं आर नॉट इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय दिस, बट योर एम्प्लॉयमेंट इज. So I get lots of, I'm hiring lots of people typically for various things that I do, and now I regularly meet people who've done a degree from somewhere, but then have these 15 courses from Coursera, you know, in programming, in AI, in big data analysis, this and that's super useful. It says a lot about the student and the skill that they've acquired. I don't think the world has transitioned to a point where these courses would displace, offset, or replace your university degree to get into a grad school. However, I think for employment, if you're seeking employment, they would have a huge impact.
Just one more. वो अभी पूरी डिग्रीज भी ऑफर करते जा रहे हैं वो लोग इसी तरीके से, तो क्या ये लैंडस्केप चेंज होगा?
बिल्कुल होगा. I told you about the edX experiment कि अभी वो माइक्रो मास्टर्स कर रहे हैं और अभी soon they will start doing an undergrad program. So there's a huge $300 million की investment होने जा रही है between MIT Harvard to do an undergrad program online, and after that I think this would transition to that level also.
Thank you very much. Thank you all participants, and thank you all speakers and panelists, Mr. Kasuri, Mr. Umar, Saif, Mr. Ali. Thank you very much.